Hello, welcome to Lofty May Vlogs. My name is Tracy and I am the host of the Knitting on the Float podcast. It is Sunday, May 7th, and today we're just taking it a little bit easier. We're going to sit down, have some chat about knitting, a little bit of tea, and then we are going to head up to the loft and we are going to tackle the Lazy Susan. It's kind of small, but it is jam-packed full of little knicky-knacky things, little sewing things, some knitting things, some fun things. So going to try and figure out where all those little things go other than just thrown into the Lazy Susan. And then I have to figure out where I actually want the Lazy Susan to live. Do I want it to live on the blue dresser? Do I want it put away somewhere so that I can easily go to and grab things? Things to work on today. But before we do, I wanted to chat a little bit about the knitting that I have been doing since we visited yesterday. And I have pulled out my lovely vintage Fairy Lights bag, and I've done a little bit of work on my Feathering the Nest socks. So I have one Feathering the Nest sock already fully complete, although I still have ends to weave in. I will get to them. Usually I'm much better and I get them done as soon as I cast off, but as you can tell, I have not. The toe at the end here is secured. I have to, I believe, secure where I joined as well as up by the cuff. So a few loose ends. Same with my Second Avenue wrap. I still need to do lots of securing. So these are the Feathering the Nest socks. This is a lovely pattern by Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins. And it's got a lovely texture to it. And I love the fit of these socks. This is now my third pair, second and a half, I guess, truly. So sock one is done, and this was Christmas Eve cast on 2021, and Christmas Eve cast on 2022 now has a full cuff and a bit of a tangle too, with a dangling bit of knitting jewelry. So this morning I added in this little section here of the cuff, and I have now done the first round of the patterning of the repeat, and still a ways to go, but it's at least not full-on second sock syndrome. So a little bit of knitting got done this morning and into the early afternoon. I am using this gorgeous Nora George yarns, and this is on trial. I am not sure what this mini was other than Almost Gone, and well, I am within reach, not within view. There we are, now within view. I should probably pop this mini, which is Christmas Wreath by Louie and Lola Yarns. It is on a Stellina Gold Sparkle. I should pop that in here because that is what I'm using for the toe. So a little bit of work here and there. Maybe by the end of May, it is possible that perhaps I will have this project done. But I'm not counting any chickens or goslings or ducklings, cygnets, anything. I'm just going to work away on what I feel like as I can. So that is something that got a little bit of love since we visited yesterday. And the other project that I'm going to share and chatter about is living in my lovely So Sweet Violet Celebrating Mice bag. I cast this on yesterday after doing a brioche swatch. Brioche. I would say brioche, but I think it's brioche. If you say it wrong, is that gauche to say brioche? Brioche? Anyway, that is the swatch. And I had decided that I was going to use color A the light color as my main color, and then my second color was going to be the pink. And then, and this is, I'm working on the Shui Shrug. And this is a pattern by Susanna Summer. And I'm liking the pattern. I like my colors, but as it's knitting up, I'm not loving my colors. So, and I do love how they look together. So I had paired Nora George Yarns Pink Grapefruit with Hedgerow Yarns Glacier right there. So color A, color B, and then my plan was to use this fun blue as the I-cord edging around the bottom once the brioche and the garter was all done. Can you tell I am speaking in past tense? I've made up my mind that today I'm going to be a little bit brutal. So these are my yarns. They were all wound up. Yesterday I cast on, and I actually was farther along, but then I realized I had a numerical mistake. I had an extra couple of stitches, and I think I missed either an SSK or a knit two together or both. I'm not sure. So this is the progress so far. This is the right side. This is the wrong side. It's pretty, but as I said, it's not wowing me, and I want that wow factor. And I was looking at some projects on Ravelry, and there's one that really wowed me. I think I'm going to do a bit of a stash dive. I would love to continue to use the Glacier, and that would be my preference, to find something to go with the Glacier. If I don't, though, that's not the end of the world. Now, I do love this combo, but what I'm finding is as I'm holding my yarns, they are so similar, even though there are speckles in here and even though the texture is different, they are so similar in color, it is actually a little bit difficult to really see the difference, and it's not popping as much as I want. So you know what we're going to do right now? We are going to go to the frog pond. No turning back now. I've pulled off all my little stitch markers. These are my Fripperies and Bibelot stitch markers. I think there's 3 there, and then I also have this one there. No turning back now. It is off the needles, and we are just going to pull this baby apart. As I said, my stitch count was wrong anyway, and I was getting a little bit frustrated that I wasn't sure how far I was going to have to go back. And I felt like I really needed to take it in a different direction, because I want to, I'm going to spend a lot of time on this project, I want to really love it. I want to be able to wear it, and I have a combination that I'm thinking I would prefer. So I am hoping to find something that goes with this one. If I don't, I know I've got some other yarn, but I want something that's got a little bit more of a contrast than these two very, very light pastel-y colors. Anyway, I'm going to pull this out, rewrap my yarns. This one will definitely be going back in my stash bin. Hopefully going to find something to go with this one. If not, it will go in the stash bin and I'll find something else. And today we're going to do a little bit of stash shopping, not shop stashing. I need to stop stashing because I need to shop my own stash. So I'm going to do a little bit of pawing through my stash, and hopefully I will find what I'm looking for. One thing I've been thinking about is one issue I have with my stash. I have a beautiful stash, but I have a lot of one-hit wonders. And for this project, I need at least 2 400 meter or 400 yard skeins to do this project. And I don't always have 2 of the same color. I do tend to have a lot of one-hit wonders. These ones, I did have sweater quantities of each. And obviously I will now have a proper sweater quantity, at least of this one. And like I said, I'm hoping that I can find something to go with this. Anyway, that is the knitting content for at least right now. We're gonna go upstairs, work on the Lazy Susan, take a paw through some stash. And right now we are in very low tide. When I was outside earlier, there was not a lot of wildlife that I could see on the river, and I thought it might be a little bit more interesting to show you life at a higher tide. So we'll go out a little bit later and take a look at nature at a higher tide, because right now they're very, very low tides and lots of mud flats. Free the yarn, free the yarn. There we go. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And even though it was really pretty, I wanted more than just pretty. Do you know, I made a cup of tea and we haven't had a little bit of tea time yet. So today, this is Garden Friend, another of my Rendale Designs mugs, and there is a little egg just on the inside of the cup there. Marks and Spencer Extra Strong, and sometimes you gotta throw in the towel, and I think today we'll just cheer to sometimes changing things up, not completely throwing in the towel. I'm just switching it up. So cheers to switching things up. I have to admit, I was really looking forward to using this yarn as the edging on my Shusui Shrug, but I don't think it is going to work with the yarn combo I'm thinking of now. But you know what that means? That means that this beauty can go back in the stash and be used for something absolutely amazing another time. I think we're going to do a little bit of double duty today. So I have put the Lazy Susan here, and I'm going to go through, and I have things in here like chalk pens and sewing things, and I'm going to move you over here so we can take a look over here so I can show you what I am going to do with these. So working between 2 spaces. Yesterday I popped some things onto the sewing table by the sewing machine, and the great thing about this table is it does have some drawers, and some of the drawers are pretty close, if not empty, pretty close to empty. So there is some space that I can create some homes for some of the things that probably belong here. This top drawer here has lots of clips, pins. I love these ones. And scissors. My bobbins are kept in here. So yesterday when I found a couple of bobbins, they went in here. These are some marking tools, and I think I will pop the marking tools in the drawer with my scissors, and also I have some rotary cutters in a drawer over here. I have another drawer that has zippers, and then I've got the 2 empty drawers on this side. Yesterday when I was cleaning off the desk, I came across this optic magnifier that fits on my Janome, And this is something that I definitely want to make sure I can find easily, and it just helps to magnify as I am sewing. More pins, lots of pins, lots of needles. Uh-oh, I just dropped one. Ah, there we are. Not a good thing to drop needles onto the floor here, especially in the carpet. These are hand sewing needles, so I'm going to pop those into a hand sewing needle. This is the little pouch that holds my seam ripper, and my seam ripper is downstairs, so I need to remember to bring that upstairs and put that with my scissors. So while I'm working with the Lazy Susan, I'm going to be between the Lazy Susan and the desk drawer, so something like this tracing wheel, these Taylor's chalk markers. I'll sort of be popping them into some of the drawers. I don't want to just throw everything in the drawer, but if it makes sense that it should be near the sewing machine, that's probably where I should put these kind of things. I have a couple of lovely shawl pins that I will need to put maybe with my shawls downstairs so they get used, rather than having them upstairs tucked in a Lazy Susan. Probably smarter to put them where I will find them when I need them. Things like gauges and bias tape definitely belong near the sewing machine. These definitely do not belong in a Lazy Susan. They should be kept at the sewing machine. Obviously, even more. And then I have, in this film container, any guesses? Beads on a string. I bought these lovely tops in Paris in the Tuileries, and they're fun, so I should definitely put these where they can be enjoyed. And I think that might be nice on the blue table, which is now getting messed up, but it will get worse before it gets better. And before I leave here today, this table's gonna look pretty good. When I was sorting out my spice rack yesterday where I keep my threads, I was wondering where this was. In the Lazy Susan. So this is going in one of the drawers where I keep the threads. And then I also have something else very special that I'm going to put on that spice rack. One of the lovely things that I have found in the Lazy Susan are these wonderful wooden spools. And I'm going to put these on the top of the spice rack, make sure that the threads are wound around as best as they can be. And they're just kind of a nice little decorative element. When we moved, I think what I did was I just threw a bunch of stuff in the Lazy Susan, whether it belonged there or not, obviously, and it went in one of the boxes. And I really haven't gone through properly. At the old house, a lot more things had proper homes, and during the move, I didn't sort as well as I should have. Anyway, these are lovely little keepsakes, and I'm just going to put them on the spice rack behind the window for now. Taking a look at all of the things that I know had previously been in the drawers of the sewing table, I think I must have just emptied the drawers and thrown them in there. But my goodness, I have a lot of sewing needles. I think there was a special on and I bought a bunch, apparently. And then I've got some T-pins for knitting and my other seam ripper. I wondered where that was. I popped downstairs and grabbed my really lovely seam ripper. This one has two ends and they just pull out. This one's the thicker one, and this one is finer. And they just pop in, and that is what this little pouch was for putting that in. So I can put that in the sewing drawer. And I have all of these lovely decorative sticks, and I got these from Jewels of So Sweet Violet several years ago. Of course, I'm dropping them on the ground, and I like to put these in my little advent calendar. So I usually keep these and put them aside, and then I use them as little decorative pieces. I'm gonna pick the one that I dropped on the floor. It's not a podcast unless I drop something on the floor. So I will put these aside. I think I'm just gonna pop them actually in my yarn bowl so I can easily find them. And I also have some decorative thank you tags or tags to put on gifts. And look, we have an empty Lazy Susan. And what I think I'm going to do with this is I'm not going to put this up here to just have everything become thrown in here and then it becomes a catch-all. What I think I'm going to do with this is right behind you, I have some of my English paper piecing and hand sewing things. And I think I'm going to put these things into the Lazy Susan, so then the Lazy Susan becomes a place where I can find all of the things that I need when I want to hand sew, and whether it is hexies or maybe even some embroidery with my different embroidery needles, things like that. I think that is what is going to go into the Lazy Susan. So for now though, these are being put aside for another day. And I'm gonna move this out of sight, out of mind. That way it cannot collect clutter. Let's take a little bit of a look around. I have pretty much cleared off the blue table again. I've put those fun little tops here so I can play if I want to. Easy to grab. And I've put both scissors here. I've put these here because I want to match yarns in a few minutes, and then I've popped all those lovely little, I don't know what you call them, but fun things in the yarn bowl. Yes, these are going to be put away in a moment. The top bin, that's where the blue one comes from, and then the pink ones are from underneath the radio table. And there had been a few things by the sewing machine, and they are now in the drawers, and there's even space still in the drawers too. I have my beautiful skinny pinnies there and a tomato, and the tin beside has pins as well. Over here we have my hand sewing bins, and in the next little while I will start organizing that and using the Lazy Susan in a bit more of an organized fashion, and I just have to figure out where I'm going to put that. So that is today's work in the loft. I'm going to put some yarn away, and I'm going to do some stash diving. I am pawing through some yarn, and I was looking for something in particular. I looked out, and this goose family is taking their babies to the open water. They are brave. So let's watch them swim for a few moments. I have been stash diving and I have come across this combo. I was wanting purple, and I've got lots of single skeins of purple, but I don't seem to have multiples of the same purple. There were a couple I'd come across and I'd say, oh, that's perfect, but I only have one. This is one that I have. This is a Viola Yarns, and this is Merino Singles in the Thistle colorway. And I think this, with the Hedgerow in Glacier, will definitely be fun. Because this will be the background color, I'm not quite sure how, I don't want to alternate, but we'll see how the two skeins of that go. Anyway, that I believe will be my main color, my background color, and then I still need to figure out which color to do for my I-cord edging. I'm thinking maybe a nice hot pink, something like Yellow Brick Road by La Bien-Aimée might also be nice. But I think that's something I will decide later, and I will just jump in with this combo for the brioche. It's a little bit later in the day than I usually come out here. The tide is coming in. You can see Mama and Papa on the bank at the bottom. There is one lone little guy going off on his own. He better not get too far from the rest of them. And then up by the log, by the goose that is standing, I believe there are 3 other babies, so I hope you can see them really clearly. I'm a little bit worried about the guy who's down at the bottom there. But oh, and there's another guy, he's popped down too. So 2 on the waterfront. Oh, they might want to go for a little swim. Anyway, it has been a beautiful day in the Vancouver area. I'm going to let you get a little bit of nature here. Mama has 2. And up on the land, the other goose has 2. I don't know which one's Mama, which one's Papa. But 2 there. 2 there. Tide is coming in. It has been a day. I am going much later than I normally do. Normally I've edited and uploaded by now. But today I had a little bit of a later start, and I also wanted to share with you what it looks like when the tide starts coming in, because the past little while that I've been sharing, we've been seeing a lot of the mud flats because it's been lower tides, but right now tide's coming in and the birds are getting their last little bit before they go for a rest for the night. Chose new yarn, cleaned out the Lazy Susan, a little bit of nature. It has been a good Sunday, and I hope wherever you are, whatever day it is for you, that it has been a wonderful one for you too. I'll see you tomorrow for May 8th, and I think think tomorrow I'm going to try and tackle the china cabinet. Empty needles, a fresh cup of tea, reused cup of course, a nicely newly wound cake of Viola, and I am ready to go for round 2 of the Shusui shrug. And I think this is going to look pretty amazing. Also, I've been eyeing a couple of ideas for that I-cord edging. I'm kind of liking this one quite a lot. But main thing, let's get these cast on, shall we?